Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'm bringing you something very different. You guys would probably know that Netflix came out with a new series, Mismatched, which was released on 20th November. And was that on my watch list? No chance. When it comes to Netflix original series, I'm highly skeptical. I mean, they've given us shows like Insatiable, Emily in Paris, Princess Switch, etc. However, when I was browsing Netflix, I accidentally saw the trailer and one major thing stood out to me. The names of the main characters, Dimple and Rishi. And I was like, hey, that sounds familiar. And once I had confirmed my suspicion that this series is based on a book titled When Dimple Met Rishi by Sandhya Menon, I knew I had to check it out. To be honest, I was not planning to read the book despite some of my favorite booktubers recommending it, mostly because I'm not a huge fan of books with romance as the major plot. But when I saw that we now also have an adaptation of the book, I decided to check both the book and the series out so that I could talk about it with you guys. Despite my reservations, I think it's absolutely wonderful when a book gets adapted as a movie or a series. I understand that this is a milestone that only a few authors reach in their lifetimes, and I heartily congratulate Sandhya for reaching this. Having said that, we all know when Dimple Met Rishi came out, it turned quite a few heads left and right, and booktubers were definitely talking about it. Now that we also have an adaptation Mismatched, the major question is, does the series live up to the book? And that's what we'll be discussing in depth in this video today. I'll first talk about my general thoughts on the book and then on the series. Before we move on, I want to clearly state that I first watched the series and then read the book, and I know most people think this order is absurd and wrong, but what can you do? Also, these are just my opinions, and if you don't agree with them, that's totally cool. With all that out of the way, let's dive right in. When Dimple Met Rishi is about two college-bound Indian-American teens who meet at a web development boot camp. Their parents have already arranged their marriages. Rishi is on board with this plan while Dimple has no clue about any of it. And when Dimple and Rishi meet for the first time, Rishi declares his intention of marrying her and she throws iced coffee all over him. As you can already tell, I found the premise of the story to be pretty interesting. Dimple is portrayed as this headstrong character who is really passionate about technology, while Rishi believes in the power of tradition and embraces the Indian culture very readily. I can totally see why so many people really loved it and what the hype was all about. However, I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars, and here's why. Number 1. The book has no plot. Literally nothing happens. This book has too much romance and there is no other subplot backing it up. In fact, this book has no tension either until last 50 pages. Characters other than Rishi and Dimple serve no purpose to the plot. Number 2. The web development bootcamp plays no role whatsoever in this book. They could have gone to literally any other bootcamp and the story would have still been the same. In fact, after Dimple meets Rishi, programming is not even mentioned. Number 3. The ending is so unoriginal. It's literally the ending of every rom-com story ever. Dimple goes to the airport to catch Rishi and to profess her love for him. Rishi goes to Stanford to meet Dimple, and then fate ends up bringing them back to the SFSU campus. Overall, I loved Rishi's character. He was understanding, respected boundaries, was endlessly patient, and a very sweet character. Dimple was just, I'm not like other girls trope personified. And according to me, Rishi was too good for Dimple. All in all, this book left me unimpressed. Coming to Mismatched, I will have to say the series takes the premise of the book and tries to create a more dramatic story out of it. First of all, unlike the book, the series is set in Jaipur, India. For the cast, we have Dimple and Rishi as the main characters. Then we have Selena, whose character is based off Celia from the book, who happens to be Dimple's roommate both in the book and the show. Then we have the Aber-Zombies trio from the book, Simran's based off Isabel, Anmol based off Evan, and Krish based off Hari. We also have 3 additional characters who are not in the book. Harsh, an NRI who is in India for a summer vacation against his wishes, Namrata, Rishi's best friend, and Zeenat, a widow who's also a part of the boot camp. So it's safe to say, while the series borrows the premise and the main characters from the book, it finds its own voice. While the book focuses solely on Dimple and Rishi, the series tries to explore not just Dimple and Rishi, but also the supporting characters, giving them the chance to grow outside the influence of the main characters. What genuinely surprised me is how the characters the series showcases are diverse. We have Namrata, who belongs to the LGBTQ+ community, Anmol, who is disabled, and Zeenat, who is a 40-year-old trying to fit in a class of 18-year-olds. I think Dimple in the series is a little less judgmental compared to Dimple in the book, but that might just be because we don't get to hear the constant internal monologue in the series that we read in the book. But I definitely liked Rishi in the book better than Rishi in the series, as he's a more well-fleshed out character in the book. Rishi in the book has more personality, even though both Rishis are equally cringy and cheesy. In some ways, the series does a better job than the book. For example, it adds backstories for the supporting characters, and the 6 episodes so far have been from the perspective of different characters. However, the series is not really perfect either, and here's what really threw me off about it. The coding bootcamp. Honestly, instead of showing the coding bootcamp, they could have just shown a regular college badge. First of all, the students are never really taught any coding. All of them somehow already know it, even Zeenat. Second, I understood why Dimple was in this bootcamp, but I see no reason as to why the other characters were here. Anmol was a successful YouTuber and Simran a successful Instagram model. Why the heck were they here? This class was such a weird bunch of students for this to be a coding bootcamp. Third, what the heck was up with the scene when the teacher explained Rishi minimum viable product? A picture is not a minimum viable product. That scene honestly made zero sense. I was literally rolling my eyes while watching that. Fourth, all the app ideas that students came up with were so over the top and pretentious. They clearly did no research on this aspect of the story. The gaming arc of the story. I don't understand what exactly was the point of adding the gaming element in the story. It is so bizarre and unnecessary. I do think calling out the misogyny in the gaming niche is a good thing, but in terms of plot, there is such a disconnect between the gaming arc and the rest of the story. The pacing of the story and the cringy dialogues. Gosh, I hate instant love tropes so much, and the pacing at which Dimple and Rishi got together was too quick for me. And not just them, but even Namrata and Selena's romance was pretty much instant. I was cringing the whole time while watching this show. To sum up, I'd say props to the writer for representation and diversity and calling out a few genuine issues, but overall it felt like Indian version of Gossip Girl or Pretty Little Liars. I know I don't have a very glowing recommendation for both the book or the series, and while some of that might just be my preferences, for example, romance doesn't interest me that much. However, I have read and watched some really great romances and enjoyed them. Talia Hibbert's Brown Sisters series and Alexis Daria's You Had Me at Ola were my this year's favorite romance books. My ID is Gangnam Beauty is also a romance K-drama that I've thoroughly enjoyed. And that's why I think that the book and series fails to turn such an interesting premise into a good story. If you guys have read the book or watched the show, feel free to tell me your opinions. If you're wondering whether or not to read the book or watch the show, I suggest you to look for a different story to consume, but the rest is up to you. I hope you liked this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. If there's anything specific you'd like me to review, feel free to let me know about it in the comments below. Subscribe for more reviews and rants. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!